after visiting over 20 parks and riding around 200 roller coasters, it is time for me to give out my top 25 favorite roller coasters. Number 25, we have Superman Ride of Steel at Six Flags America. This is an intimate mega coaster, goes over 200 feet tall, goes around 70 miles per hour. And the reason I find this ride so good and so great, and the reason that it's up in my top 25, is because it surprised me so much. When I wrote it, top 25 sounded about right, and I'd only get ridden around 110, 15 roller coasters in the time I've ridden it. And the fact that it stood up in my top 25 as of riding over 200 roller coasters now is very impressive to me. It is such a fantastic ride. I really expected the straight sections to kill the ride for me, and man, those straight sections they just feel really fun. They're really smooth. They are really fast. You feel like you're flying, and it's just a great, great ride, and I really, really do enjoy the ride. Number 24, we have Thunderhead at Dollywood, a roller coaster that seems to get both overrated and underrated. I've seen people say it's the greatest GCI ever created, and I've also seen people say it is one of the worst GCIs ever created, and I have to say that it is not my favorite GCI, but it's not my least favorite GCI. I have ridden about 3 or 4 GCIs, or actually 5, and it's right in the middle. It's right there in the center. So it's a mid-tier GCI in my opinion. I really do enjoy the ride. It's a fantastic ride. Has some good airtime moments. Has a fun drop. And at nighttime, really adds another level of crazy. It's an okay ride during the day, but at night, it's definitely a much better ride. So number 23, we have Apollo's Chariot, Busch Gardens, Williamsburg. A roller coaster that I've ridden well over 300 times, and a roller coaster that, again, gets overrated and underrated. I've seen people say it's one of the worst hypercoasters. Shout out to Coaster Kids. They say it's not an elite hypercoaster, which in a way it's not, but in a way I think it is. But that's a debate for another day. But there's also people that say it is the greatest hypercoaster, that it is so fun, that it is so great, and I agree it's a great ride, but I do not, even as a person that has ridden over 300 times, I love the ride to death. I can agree that it is not the best hypercoaster out there. It's not the best ride out there. And while I do seriously enjoy it a lot, I do give it a bit of a break because it isn't the greatest roller coaster in the world, but it's super fun though. Number 22, we have Afterburn at Carowinds, and this is a B&M invert. It was actually one of my first B&M inverts outside of Virginia and outside of Alpengeist in a Volcano. Especially, I was very surprised by it. It crushed both of those rides, Volcano and Alpengeist, and it made its way up to my favorite invert for a while. And man, it isn't the smoothest ride out there. It does give a little bit of headbanging towards that last 0G roll, and a lot of people are going to go, what are you talking about? But I do get some headbanging on that last 0G roll, but it doesn't matter because that ride is so intense. It is so smooth at the beginning portion of the ride, and it is so much fun. Every time I get off that ride, I'm like, wow. What is this? I went to Carowinds a couple months ago just for the morning on my way down to Six Flags over Georgia. I read it about 5 or 6 times in a row after riding Fury, and I was in shock again. I had forgotten how intense, how great that ride was, and it didn't really move up much. I believe it actually did move up 3 or 4 spots, but it didn't move up much on my list. It's still a fantastic ride. All these rides from now on are going to be fantastic. All of them are like really close to each other, and so Afterburn is definitely a great invert. So number 21, we have Fahrenheit at Hershey Park, and I believe this is one of the most overlooked roller coasters on this list. Fahrenheit was not at all a roller coaster I was looking forward to. I was like, it's going to be pretty fun. But man, getting off of that ride and just in disbelief. The vertical lift is so cool. It's so disorienting, and all the blood like rushes to your head, so you're like, oh, wow. That first drop, so intense, so much whip because you have it's almost, I believe it's vertical drop, and you go do the vertical drop, and you're just like, whoa, and then you get whipped into a bunch of inversions. The Norwegian loop, fantastic, so crazy. And that last little airtime hill, you get some serious good ejector. So this ride really, really impressed me. It's my second favorite ride at the park, behind, obviously, Sky Rush, which will be coming up in a little bit. But it beat Storm Runner, it beat Great Bear, it beat a bunch of other roller coasters, so that says for itself. That speaks for itself. But I do enjoy the ride a lot. And I know a lot of people are going to give me hate. Storm Runner's amazing. I didn't find Storm Runner that great. That's an honorable mention. That's number 30. So take that as you will. Fahrenheit, in my opinion, is the superior ride. And it is definitely, it's close. Very close to beating Sky Rush. So number 20, we have Diamondback at Kings Island. A roller coaster that very, very, very few people say is overrated. Very few. I do know some people, and people that I rode it with agree with me. I was there I was at Kings Island last year during October, early October, and we got off of the ride, and I was like, I think I got a bad ride on it. Let me go ride it again. Rode it again. Bad ride. Kept going and going. The next day we got Fast Pass. Kept going and going. After like 25 rides, I'm like, what is this? This is overrated. And you might say, well, you didn't ride it in the back. Rode it in the back. You didn't ride it in the front. Rode it in the front. Didn't ride in the middle. Rode in the middle. Rode everywhere basically possible on that ride. Every train. I mean, I know there's like the neon green train. A bunch of trains. I don't remember all the colors exactly, but I rode it everywhere. And it just wasn't good. Maybe I'll go back to this soon. I don't know, probably not this year, but maybe soon. And I'll be like, wow, this is so much better. What did I ride last time? This is not the same ride. But as of now, number 20 is where Diamondback stands. And 20 is a good spot. It's not a bad ride. I was just expecting it to be maybe even top 10, top 15, and it did not make it there for me. So number 19, we have the Beast at Kings Island, right above Diamondback. And that is a roller coaster that seriously gets a lot of crap, and I don't understand why. One of the best night rides ever. Such a great ride. Oh my gosh. Unbelievable ride. And so a lot of people say, it's mediocre, it's not good, the night rides don't make it good. What are you talking about? A night ride can't make a coaster good. And my friends, a night ride can make a coaster good. The Beast at night makes a roller coaster that is mediocre, I agree. One of the greatest roller coasters of all time at night. It is unbelievable. I think I rode it like 3 or 4 times in the day, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to waste my time on this. Rode it at night, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to waste my time on this. I rode it about 30 times when I went to Kings Island. And so I didn't just ride it once and automatically say it's great. I rode it a lot. Wheel seats, front row, middle seats, back row, everywhere. My favorite was back row. Loved back row. It was a great ride. Not that rough, not that boring. It's unbelievable. It's like, it's a coaster. It's a coaster that you can't describe until you ride it. And people there's a couple of people that say it's overrated and only ridden it during the day. And I'm like, you've only ridden it during the day. Come on. You cannot judge it until you ride it at night. But I'll let you guys have your opinions on that. Number 18 is Millennium Force at Cedar Point. Whoa, why is that so far back, James? That's the greatest roller coaster of all time. It's a good ride. Yes, I agree. Greatest roller coaster of all time. That's a stretch. I'm okay with everyone having their opinion. You can say it's the greatest roller coaster of all time, and again, a roller coaster that I rode over 20 times this year. So I first rode it back in 2016 actually, and I was like, yeah, that's okay, that's pretty good. That was like one of my favorite coasters for a while. I think I only rode it like twice when I went. I'm like, that's pretty good. Yeah, it's really good. That might be one of my favorite roller coasters. I think at one point I said it was my number 1. I don't know why I said that. I was wrong. I don't think I ever had that as my number 1. I always had Maverick. But at one point I did say on Instagram or YouTube or somewhere it was my number 1 favorite roller coaster, which is not true. It never was my number 1 favorite roller coaster. It was always like in the number 6 or 7 area. So yeah, I was like, this is really great. This is really great. I went back this year, rode it like 20 times at night in the rain. And it just was like, it's okay. And you might say, well, the rain might have affected it. It stopped raining for a while. So it did start raining towards the end, but it was not raining for a while. So, okay. It's a great ride. It's a fantastic ride. It's in my top 25. It's great, but a little bit overrated in my opinion. Number 17, we have my favorite B&M invert, Banshee. And I don't usually, you saw Afterburn's way back to number 22. I don't like to rank my inverts too high because I don't feel that they sometimes deserve being this high up, because I know some people are like, inverts are the greatest, put it in the top 10. I feel like once you put an invert in the top 10, it's kind of like, what, come on. So, but this is a ride that deserves to be up here. Number 17 is a pretty great spot. And I know I'll ride some inverts later. I'll ride a couple of inverts this year. I'll ride a couple of inverts, in the years to come in the U.S. I'm really looking forward to the European inverts, which I'll be riding in like 2022 when I go to Europe 2022. But Banshee, I believe, will always be definitely a top, I'd say a 3 to 5 invert for me. I know people say Afterburn's better. I know people say that Montu's better, yada, yada, yada. But for me, Afterburn, nowhere close to Banshee's level. Banshee is so much smoother, so much longer, so much faster. It's just so much better. And not that Afterburn sucks at all, but I feel like if Afterburn was the length of Banshee, it would definitely be better. But Afterburn is so short that I just, sometimes I'm just like, I wish there was so much more to Afterburn. So for me, Banshee, oh my gosh, fantastic ride. So intense, so great. And I know a lot of people say the vest restraints bother them, but the vest restraints do not bother me. And I'm also the person that has Wild Eagle way back on their top 50 because of the vest restraints on Wild Eagle. But Banshees don't bother me at all. I love Banshees restraints. So that's just me. Banshee's pretty great. I love the ride. I know some people might call me I'm overrating Banshee. Whatever. It's okay. It's a great ride, but you can say I'm overrating it. But no, I seriously enjoy Banshee a lot. So number 16, we have Sky Rush at Hershey Park. And this is a roller coaster that I know right now you're going down in the comments and you're going, you suck. Sky Rush is amazing, dude. LOL, I'm amazing. Sky Rush, you're just an intimate hater. But it's not so much that I'm an intimate hater, it's just the Sky Rush isn't good, I think. That's more the thing. I rode it, I believe, 6 or 7 times. Wing seat, middle seat, back row. I believe I got one front row ride or somewhere up closer to the front. And it was good. It's number 16. Pretty great. Love the ride, but it's a little overrated. I know some people have it like over I-305, over Fury, over Steel Vengeance, and I'm like, whoa, hold it down there. That is too much. It's too much, in my opinion. So take that as you will. You can leave the comment that I'm an intimate hater. I'm not an intimate hater. I believe my top 5 is consisting of, I believe, 2 or 3 Intamin, so I love Intamin. They're a great manufacturer. I'm just not a big fan of Sky Rush. Number 15, we have Superman the Ride at Six Flags New England. And this is a ride that kicks butt. A ride that, in my opinion, is better than Sky Rush. And it's a ride that I was not looking forward to because someone, I'm not going to mention who, but someone was telling me it was very bad, that the restraints were awful, and that you're probably going to get off with a bruised leg. And I was getting on, and I'm like, oh yeah, these restraints are a little uncomfortable. Uh-oh. Got off the ride, and I'm like, yeah, those restraints suck, but that ride was fantastic. It was so fun. Good ejector and strong ejector. Like strong ejector. I was getting thrown out of my seat, and my legs did hurt. But I feel like sometimes sacrifices must be made in order, because there's no such thing as a perfect roller coaster. It sucks, but it's true. All these roller coasters on this list are fantastic, but they all have their flaws. And it sucks. If Superman Ride had T-bars, holy crap. Probably a top 3 roller coaster for me. But it seems every roller coaster has to have a flaw. You can never just have the perfect ride. And I'm telling you, Superman the Ride with T-bars. I know it did at one point have T-bars. I didn't ride it with T-bars, but if it did have T-bars when I rode it, it'd be much higher on my list. Number 14, we have Phantom's Revenge at Kennywood, and a lot of people, red flags here. You have that above Sky Rush. You have that above Millennium Force. What are you doing? I like Phantom's Revenge better. Phantom's Revenge has insane ejector. It is such a fun ride. It has such a good terrain layout. And at nighttime, that thing, again, just kind of like Beast, transforms into an even better ride. It's a great ride during the day, unlike Beast, which is mediocre, but it's so much better at night. It's just so much better. You go through the terrain, you go through the tunnel, you go to the ravine. It's just, oh my gosh. And then those last, 4 airtime hills, they're great. Phantom's Revenge is great. Number 13, we have Behemoth at Canada's Wonderland. And this is another hypercoaster that gets overlooked. There are a couple on this list that I've talked about, hypers in general, like Phantom's Revenge, Sky Rush, Millennium. Some of those hypers, unlike Sky Rush, doesn't really get overlooked, but yeah, Polished Chariot sometimes gets overlooked. Behemoth is like the number 1 hyper that gets overlooked. Number 1. I never hear anyone mention Behemoth, and Behemoth is one of the greatest hypers ever. It is so much airtime. It's so much fun. And when I got off of that, I was like, what? I was expecting Behemoth. I was really expecting Leviathan to be the highlight of the park. Nothing else would even come close. But Behemoth is so good. Definitely my number 2 at Canada's Wonderland. So close to Leviathan. Very close. In this list, it may look like Leviathan's way ahead, but in real life, Behemoth and Leviathan are like, from now on, really, and from the beginning of the top 25, it's been neck and neck, but from now on, it's just like, they're like this close to being, the next level. I could change this around so much, but at number 12, I have Mystic Timbers. And again, Behemoth and Mystic Timbers, they could go right back and forth with each other. Doesn't really matter for me. This is just how I personally chose to rank them. The reason I put Mystic Timbers so high, and I know people right now are going, oh my gosh, the shed sucked. The ride's overrated. There's not much airtime. It doesn't really do much. And I've heard those complaints before. But when I remember riding it, which I got about 21 rides on it, I remember coming off that ride every time and going, oh my gosh, so much fun. Get back on. Get some good airtime, which it does. I believe that first airtime hill and those airtime hills that when you go through the more long and stretched out part of the layout, those airtime hills are pretty good. I don't know if it's like strong ejector, but it's definitely, I'd say flow ejector. You're getting thrown out of your seat. Sometimes you're hitting those restraints, and Mystic Timbers delivers a punch And the first drop, fantastic. So yeah, Mystic Timber is my favorite ride of that park, and a great ride. And my number 12. So number 11 is Goliath at Six Flags Over Georgia, and this is another hyper that's getting overlooked, but not as much as Behemoth, because some people do actually have it as one of their favorites. And Goliath, man, wow, I got ejector on Goliath. That's the only B&M hypercoaster that I have gotten ejector on. Solid ejector, like I don't know, like Intamin level ejector, but ejector. And I think that speaks for itself. That's all I really have to say about it. And if you haven't ridden it yet, and you're gonna go in the comments right now and say that you're dumb and that there's no way it gives it ejector, wait till you ride. Wait till you ride. And if you've ridden it and you don't get ejector, I don't know. I got ejector. I was there in October, and it was warm, so maybe it was just warmed up really well. I don't know. It gave me ejector. Good ejector too. Number 11, or number 10 actually, sorry, Wicked Cyclone at Six Flags New England. So Wicked Cyclone is a ride that really, really was surprising to me in two ways. The more that I rode it, the more I was like, okay, this is good, but it definitely does slow down at the end. I was going into it, I first rode it, and I'm like, this does not have pacing issues. People are dumb. This doesn't have pacing issues. But then the more I rode it, I'm like, this has pacing issues a little bit. A little bit of pacing issues. And then, yeah, towards the end, literally the last, let's split this ride to like one tenth. Like, let's just say that's a tenth. Like the last tenth of the ride has some pacing issues. You slow down, you're going over an airtime hill, and you're just like, oh yeah, that's not ejector. And then you hit the brakes, and you're like come up in the brake run, and you're just like this. Oh, you crawl into the brakes. So I'm like, yeah, towards the end, it definitely does have a little bit of pacing issues. Still my number 10. I still enjoy it so much. My least favorite RMC, but that's the first RMC I've mentioned all day, so it's my number 10. RMC is pretty great. So if it's my number 10, and there's still some RMCs to come, and it's my least favorite, all the RMCs are inside my top 10. That's pretty great. So number 11, we have Twisted Cyclone at Six Flags Over Georgia. And I know right now you're going, whoa, overrated. What are you doing overrating that ride? I went to Six Flags Over Georgia, like I said, with Goliath. I got over like 8 or 9 rides on this thing. So over like 8 or 9 rides. I rode it back like 3, and then I rode it front for the rest. And you might go, you're crazy. Why are you riding RMC in the front row? That's the only roller coaster like ever that I am a front row rider of. I got in the front row, and I'm like, yeah, let's just ride it front row just for fun, just to check it out, just to see what's going on. And I just was like, holy crap, that's better than the back. Let's keep riding and keep riding and keep riding and keep riding. Kept riding. I kept riding. And I was like, yeah, this has to be better than Wicked Cyclone. And it was all nighttime rides for the majority of the rides I rode. And it was unbelievable. It was unreal. It was just a great ride. And at number 8, I have Intimidator 305. Whoa, James. Slow down, James. Stop underrating the greatest roller coaster of all time, James. I know what those Intamin fanboys right there are getting triggered. Get triggered. Because number 8 is where it is. And that's where it'll stay for now. I got over 230 rides on this thing. Over 230. So I know a lot of you guys have probably ridden like 2 or 3 times. And you were like a really good day. So therefore you think it's the greatest roller coaster of all time. And that's fair. You have that right to your opinion. And quite honestly, there are some rides where I'm like, holy crap, this deserves to be higher on my list. But the next couple coasters, I just like have a hard time putting Intimidator 305 in front of. So Intimidator 305 is a fantastic ride. It goes over 305 feet tall, goes over 92 miles per hour, and it is such a long and fun and meander ride. It just waves all around. But that's part of the problem with me, is it doesn't do anything. It goes down the first drop, which is fantastic. You go into the blackout helix. Not the helix, but the blackout turn. You go into it, and you're like, yes, yes, yes. You go over airtime hill, and you don't get any airtime. And I'm like, oh. And people are always like, yes, you get airtime, ejector airtime. Oh my gosh. And I'm like, 230 rides on it for me says no airtime. So I don't know. Then you go through the first curve, go around and do like another couple not even airtime hills, but you just kind of curve around, twist. You're just twisting around the track there into the curves. And then you go through that one airtime hill that would probably give insane ejector, but then they braked it. They put brakes on that airtime hill. So that airtime hill is like this. So it's like, oh my gosh. And you slow down and you can't get any airtime on it. It's impossible. And that sucks. And then you go through this one, you go through that one, break the airtime hill, and you go, and there's another one. But then whoever designed the ride, Intamin, I mean, they have an airtime hill, but then it kind of turns in the middle of the airtime hill. So you get this kind of good airtime, and then it just turns, and you kind of get back thrown and back in your seat. And then you turn one more time, go into the brakes. And I don't know. I mean, it just doesn't. None of that was like insane to me every time I've ridden it. But I'm looking forward to it maybe moving up this year. I'm going to give it a little bit of a break. It is my child. I've ridden over 230 times. I think that's one of the most out of at least the people I know. I know there are some people that have ridden it over 230 times as well. That's great. Maybe you like it more than me, but I just don't. Number 7, I've Twisted Timbers, again at King's Dominion. And this is an amazing RMC hybrid. And it's definitely a better roller coaster than what Hurler used to be. I still enjoy going back down to Carowinds and riding Hurler. But it's definitely a better roller coaster than Hurler. It's such a great airtime. Now that barrel roll drop, it's fantastic. It changes your life. It is my favorite inversion on a roller coaster. And that's basically all I can say. It's a great ride, some great ejector. I've had the privilege of doing about 2 or 3 behind-the-scenes tours, and I got to watch the thing be built. I took a lot of construction videos and updates, which you can check out on the YouTube channel as well. So yeah, this is basically my baby. I was there when it was still Hurler. I rode it when it was Hurler, and then I got to see it become Twisted Timbers. So I really love this ride. Number 6, we have Leviathan. And before you call me a B&M fanboy, I've looked at this over the couple past months, and I've gone, does it deserve to be that high? Maybe it doesn't. Maybe I put it too high. But as far as I remember, fantastic ride. Love the ride. One of my favorites. When I go back to Kansas Island this year, I will definitely, I'm going to try it again. I'm going to see if I believe it deserves that spot. Because maybe I did overrate it. Maybe I need to put it down a little bit more. So I've definitely acknowledged that. But I'm not one of those people that just goes and changes their list just because they want to. Just because they're like, I don't know. I'm just going to watch a POV real quick. Yeah, the POV doesn't look that great. I'm going to change it. I ride my roller coasters, and then I change my list. I don't change my list and then ride the roller coasters. I'm not one of those people. Because then what happens is you go ride the ride again. You're like, oh, I need to change it again. I actually like it more, or I like it worse than I actually do. So there's really no point. And I feel like people that do that just change it because someone might say, hey, why are you an Intamin fanboy? And people will be like, oh, I'm not an Intamin fanboy. Let me put that a little down further. Or, hey, you're overrate B&M. B&M sucks. And you'll be like, oh, yeah, let me put Fury at number 21. Like, come on, really? I mean, you got to be real here. I'm not going to change it until I ride it. So number 6, Leviathan. I'm stinking with it. Sorry. Number 5, I have Maverick at Cedar Point. And this is another roller coaster that I feel like I might have put too high. I really enjoy it. I think it's a fantastic ride. I really love the ride. Really, really love it. But I do feel like I might have overrated it a little bit. Might need to go back down to my top 10. But I don't know. We shall see. I'll be going to Cedar Point. Probably not this year because I'm looking to go to other parks this year. But I will be back at Cedar Point for 2020. Probably Coaster Mania. And I do look forward to that. So number 4, we have El Toro, which I definitely support being my number 4. A ride that I rode about 30 times with my good friend Daniel. And we rode it and rode it and rode it and rode it and rode it. And I can definitely assure you it should be number 4. And eventually I might even get up higher because I'll be going back to Dollywood maybe this year. And if I don't think Lightning Rod's is good, if I don't remember it as good as El Toro, it might be El Toro might take the cup. Might take the cup. And I'll also be going to Voyage. And Voyage might move up. I don't know. We'll see where Voyage lands a place in. So I have a lot of roller coasters that are coming in for 2019. But this is my 2018 list. So yeah. Number 3, we have Lightning Rod, which I just said. Might go back a little bit further with Dollywood, with El Toro. And I remember Lightning Rod being fantastic. I got a night ride on it. And a couple night rides on it. And it was a fantastic ride. It was a fantastic event. I went for an ACE event. It was such a great time. I had such a great time at that, so that kind of added to the atmosphere of Dollywood for me because I had all these roller coaster enthusiasts with me, and it was my first roller coaster enthusiast event. So yeah, Dollywood's Lightning Rod for now is at my number 3 spot, and I really do think it will always be in my top 10. I don't think a lot will get knocked out of my top 10. Number 2, another ride I don't think will ever get knocked out of my top 10, and another roller coaster that's going to trigger the Intamin fanboys. This is Fury 325, and a lot of people right now, you're going, oh my gosh, here's one of those guys that overrate it. And this is not, I'm not one of those people that's ridden it once back in 2015 or whenever it opened. Yeah, 2015 or 2016 or anything. I've ridden this ride over 30 times. I've gone to Carowinds 4 times now, and I've ridden it a lot. And I can basically solidify it's always going to be in my top 10 at least. Definitely think it's always going to be in my top 10. Maybe it'll move back from number 2, but it'll always be in my top 10. I just love the ride. It's so smooth, it's so fun, it's enjoyable, and it's a great ride. I really do think it'll always be my number 2. So number 1 is the roller coaster that basically it just dominates. It's the only roller coaster on the list I can say dominates the other. All the other roller coasters are very similar. You know, some of them are really close together. And while Fury is close to this, I definitely can assure you that Steel Vengeance is my number 1. So yes, Cedar Point, Steel Vengeance, the RMC conversion of Mean Streak, which I did ride. I did ride Mean Streak. It was pretty okay. I didn't think it was that awful. It was okay. But I definitely agree that the RMC that we got is better. So the inversions, the ejector, the first drop, everything about this ride is amazing. Even the brake run. It's just an amazing ride. I can solidify that as my number 1 probably for a long time. I don't think anything will ever beat it. There are a couple things that may beat it eventually, but for now, Steel Vengeance is my number 1. So that's my top 25, guys. Thank you so much. I know that video was a little long. I'm sorry, but I hope you guys watched it. I hope you guys got the reasons that I like all these roller coasters. If I still didn't answer why you think I liked a certain roller coaster like Leviathan or something like that, ask me. Say, okay, I didn't really understand what you're saying about that. I need a little bit more explanation on that. Ask me. I'm open to any comments, any feedback. I'm not going to change my list because of you, but I might help explain it a little bit better. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I've been James Barber, your host, and I'll see you guys later.